Right, does it work? Actually, before we do the test, I need to be seeing myself somehow. How do I do that? Oh, this phone is rubbish. This phone just is asking for retirement right now. Seriously. Hello, by the way. Sorry about that. How do I get to the. Oh, there you are.
So really, honest, unable to
No,
join us
that's
today,
not the
but he got
one.
you.
That is not the one. I am live, aren't I? Ah, there he is. Ah, there he is. Yes, he is working. I can hear myself. You can hear myself as well. No? Yes, he is working. I can hear myself. You can hear myself as well. No? Right. Thank you for coming to the live. You can hear myself as well. Right. Thank you. So, as you've seen, the title of this video is how I rethought my life. Yes, I had to rethink my life. Now, to explain first, why did you have to rethink your life? I think it's fair to say that most of us we don't actually like change. It makes sense though because normally the way we function in life is we go to the unknown, we figure it out, and then once the unknown is now known, we optimize it and we become efficient and life becomes easier. So we don't just live for difficulties, we live for an easy life in a way, a smarter life, not a hard life for no reason. So it kind of makes sense that we we hang on to the status quo because we figured it out. So it makes no sense to change something that's working already. So the only reason why we accept change, well, the only reason, more often than not, is because we don't have the choice. So either because this change is imposed on us by an external force, or our life is just a nightmare and there's no way we're keeping the status quo. It's just too much. And that's in that situation that I found myself back in 2011, 2012. I think it's 20 between 2010 and 2011. I had to rethink my life. I had no choice. To explain why, in a nutshell, it's basically my status quo had become something like I jump into a time machine, and instead of choosing a timeline that is full of uh, interesting things and vibrant things and pleasant things, I want to see my life when I'm 80 and live in that body. Why would I do that? But that's what I did. It felt like I had gone 40 years in the future, live to see how my body would be like when it's decomposing, not decomposing after I'm dead, but like on the verge of death. That's how it felt. And I'm not being like overly dramatic. I'm going to explain to you. I actually was like, I took on 40 years in a matter of months. It felt like it health wise. Okay, so how did that come about? 2011 or 2010, thereabout. So, you know how in the last live I was saying that when I was younger, I was headhunted every now and then by a recruiter, and I was feeling so special because at the time I was quite naive and thought, oh, they've seen my CV and they're so impressed. Therefore, they obviously have the best job for me and they've got my interest at heart. Turns out it's not that it's not that straightforward, and it's not like that really. Anyway, go and see my other live that is called, what did I call it this time? Something along the lines of, if you fake it, literally, when you fake it, you make it, literally, something like that. I can't even remember what I called it. Anyway, I can't even see it now. Back to the matter at hand. So 2010, 2011, this recruiter found my CV and said, "Oh, we found this job that is a perfect fit for you because you like languages." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And I've always wanted to use and improve my languages in a role. That was my aim at the time. And so when I saw the job spec as per the recruiter, what the recruiter put in front of me, I was like, yes, that's exactly what I've been looking for. Sign me up. So I was signed up. And then I went um, into the job, got the job, and then straight away things didn't pan out the way I was envisaging. So first of all, the the international language element was just a cherry on top. It wasn't a requirement of the job. In fact, compared to other jobs in the same office that did not require languages, I was paid sometimes less, which was a bit irksome, was a bit weird, but that's not exactly what really got me. I tell you in a minute was what really got me. There was a culmination of things. So first of all, the culture was toxic. Apart from the fact that the job description wasn't quite what I was told. In what ways the culture was toxic? Well, first of all, the manager didn't know how to motivate their employees. The idea of management was to threaten people and say, well, if you don't do it this way or that way, we could find somebody else to do the job that way. Call that, I don't know what you would call that. That is not management. That's some sort of emotional blackmail. So that's one. Two, again, with the management, I mean, I love the job, although it wasn't exactly what I expected. I was still using my languages and I was improving them as well. So everybody throughout the office was coming to me with French, I speak Spanish. I started to actually improve on my Italian, Portuguese, and I wanted to do even more. They really should have invested in me. Anyway, so all the management tended to go on lunch together, which means, first of all, that if there's a query or something that needs to be escalated to a manager, there was no manager to be there. There was no shift for the managers for one or two to be there just in case. No, never. And not only that, they used to have extended lunches. So on the other hand, for us, if we happen to not be back from lunchtime, maybe 2 minutes, 5 minutes, we would expect a snooty email telling us, no, no, not nothing out of the ordinary, but just remember that you're contractually obligated to have such and such time lunch, not more, blah blah blah. Yeah, you'd expect that, but that wasn't a rule for the managers. They would come, it would all go for 1 hour, 30 minutes. I'm sure there was one day that it was almost 2 hours, and come back laughing and giggling as if to rub it on our noses. uh that wasn't good for us at all. That contributed to the morale to going even more down. But there was a lot of things. So as a result from the toxic culture, there was a very high turnover. So people came and went. And at the time, I was so naive and I was so fiercely loyal that I was like, oh, well, it is what it is. So I stayed, never even considered looking for another job and took on the extra work. So not only there was extra work because we took on a lot of new clients with different requirements and we had to wrap our head around those new requirements very quickly. But at the same time, we needed to train people that would come and then go and be replaced and do the same over and over again. But it is what it is. I did that. And then one day, not surprisingly, because the workload was so difficult, I was not hitting my targets. But I assumed that the management knew why, because I was training and coaching and shadowing at the same time. How do you expect me to do all those things and that, and my results not to suffer? But they pulled me aside, and basically it was an ultimatum. It was a disciplinary. They were like, well, you haven't been hitting your targets, you have been making mistakes, and blah 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 and blah blah blah. Therefore you have a month to pull your results up, otherwise it's the door. I was very annoyed, but I was like, okay, it is what it is. I will try my best to pull my socks up, and I really did try my best. I actually managed. I was on a mission every day. I was really intentional about how I was using my time. I was always trying to get back on mission as soon as possible. And in the end, I just about managed. I managed to hit my target. It was hard, but I did it. And what happened after that? As fate would have it, actually, the company went down. So at one point they were saying, "Are we're not making enough sales? Therefore, I'm afraid all of your jobs are in jeopardy." We were possibly 50, 70 on the floor, and they said, "Right, we're making all your jobs redundant, and you guys now are going to have to battle it out. We're creating 25 jobs. Battle it out among yourselves. We're gonna, apply for these jobs, and we're gonna take the 25 that we deem are fit for the job." Okay. So, and I thought there was a bit of a nice twist, because there was a job within those 25 jobs, a job title that really sounded like exactly what I wanted, that I didn't quite have, which was an international liaison type of role. And I was like, it required languages, and it required Spanish, and I think it required French as well. But I'm not sure. I think it did require Spanish and French. Or anyway, it was an international language role, and I was like, that's me. That's me. There's no way I'm not getting that, am I? Applied, didn't get it, and somebody else got it. It was a Spanish girl. Now, did I lose to the best? Maybe. But wait for this. That girl got the job and declined it. Why? Because she had another offer elsewhere, a better offer. I can't blame her. Everybody wanted out this place. So she found another offer. So she declined the job, went to that other offer. So that job was vacant. Did I have another chance? Nope. In the end, I think they brought in somebody external to do the job. So, but that's the thing. The good thing, in a way, but in the long run, it was not a good thing. They kept me on, even though all those jobs, the 25 jobs, had now been filled. Everybody else had now gone, and I was the, I guess, the lucky remnant that was still there. So what did they give me as a job? Well, I was a floater between teams, and I was helping people with their language queries, which is really the job, kind of a similar job to the one that had been filled by the external woman. But this is the ticker though. I was not a permanent employee. They didn't, go against their word. From a permanent employee that I was before, now I was a temp. I had been demoted, which means there could be a time when they call me and say, actually, you don't need to come back to the office. We don't have any work for you this week. So, really, I was in a state of constant uncertainty, not knowing the week to the next if I would have a job to go back to. So, what do you think that did to my health? My health plummeted. Now, mind you, I wasn't eating very healthy at the time as well. That didn't help. But the stress, the uncertainty, the worry got to me, and I started to develop an autoimmune disease. And if you look at myself, sometimes you can probably see my I've got discoloration every now and then. You can see that, but I'm now much better than I was. But yeah, at the time, I go back to the Rethink back screen. So at the time, it completely exploded. I had a massive flare up. All my hairline was discolored. I had patches where I was pink, and all my joints were painful and swollen to the point that I had to walk with a walking stick. And it was agony each time I went to the office because I sit down, and then when it comes to sitting, well, standing up, I need to hoist myself with the walking stick, and I was walking like an 80-year-old for about 15 seconds before, I don't know, before it was a little better, and I was walking a little better, but still kind of limping and using a walking stick. I was 30, but it felt like I was 80. Yeah. So again, unsurprisingly, at that time, I took a lot of days off sick because I didn't know what was going on, and I went to the doctor, and they were trying to figure out what was happening with me. Uh, and I started having all sorts of medications to try to help, but they weren't always helping. It was a nightmare. So, what do you think happened? One day, while I was off sick, I get a phone call from the office saying, "Oh, do you have anything in the office, personal belongings in the office?" And I think to myself, no, not really, no. And then they said, okay, well, no point coming back to the office. We don't have any work for you anymore." I was like, okay. And that's it. That was the end of that job. No ceremony, no thank you, no nothing. That's it. Bye bye. Now, it was actually a blessing in disguise, I tell you. But wow, this is why I had to rethink my life. In the work front, this was the straw that broke the camel's back. All that loyalty up in smoke, nothing to show for it. In fact, because of the fact that I was made a temp for a little while, I can't remember how many months that lasted. I was not permanent in that time, but had I been permanent, I think I would have been entitled to severance pay or redundancy money. But they made sure that I didn't hit the 3 years or whatever the length of time was until I was entitled to it. So they didn't have to pay me. But they knew it would have helped. It would have helped because In fact, I couldn't work for a while after that because of my condition. But yeah, they were just very crafty about. They didn't have any any duty of care, any concern for me, for my health. They weren't actually that sorry. They just wanted me to be out. They just wanted to let go of me like a sack of potatoes. So yeah, again, that's why I had to rethink my life. As far as work was concerned, if I looked at it, this was the worst uh, experience in my employment life, but it was rhyming with a lot of other experiences. There's probably two workplaces I worked at where the experience was generally very positive, but 99% of them ended up me being made redundant. So it felt like my loyalty was never really rewarded. I was loyal to my detriment. Uh, it felt a very one sided kind of relationship. So after that, I've always told myself, I am not doing traditional work anymore. I am traumatized. I've got commitment issues with you guys because when I'm committed, you pull on my head. So so ever since, really, I've had one employment after that one, but it wasn't an office job. Again, made redundant. And ever since, I've been working for myself so that at least there's much less possibility of me getting made redundant. There still is, when you work for yourself and you have clients, uh, the client may not, may go and take their business as well, or that sort of thing. So there's still that, but at least there's no firing me like there was in those instances. So right, I've done the conclusion twice again. But that is why I had to rethink my life work wise. Worked for myself ever since, and want to get to a point where I've got so many different income streams, so many different employers, not employees, but clients, that if I lose one, it's okay. I've got the other ones to back me up. I am now adverse to having all my eggs in one basket. I just can't do it anymore. So I normally have like three things on the go. They're not always all working, but I'm just now addicted to having different, uh, my hands in different pies. Right. That is it. I've actually done it in less than 30 minutes. So part two is going to be why I had to rethink my life health wise. Because obviously, after that dramatic experience with my work, and I had to regain my health after. I didn't actually think I would, to be honest, because it felt like it was the end of my life prematurely at 30. Because I had, I was disabled basically. I could not run. I could not play sports. In fact, at one point, it went so bad that my whole body was covered in patches, and I felt like a leper. I could not even show my face to the world. I thought that was the beginning for to the end for me. Fortunately, it wasn't, because again, I had to rethink my life healthcare wise. So the answers I was getting, the status quo, was again a nightmare. So I had to change things. So that's going to be the stuff of part 2. So thank you for watching, and I hope I see you in part 2. I don't know if I'm going to do it next Wednesday, but I'll do it, and I'll put a notification. So put your bells, subscribe, whatever you need to do so that you can be notified once I come back and give you another story time part 2. So thank you for watching. Reflect, redefine, rise. Ciao.